Good evening. Welcome to tonight's show. Tonight, the third Tuesday of the month, I have a group of 4 business owners that'll be sharing the studio tonight in the various segments. I'm starting off first with Peter Martin, who's the president and founder of Cactus Sky Digital and testimonial businesses, testimonial builders. Sorry about that, Peter. I warned you I get this stuff screwed up all the time. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
It's my pleasure to have you here. First question is, what motivates you to get up in the morning and go to work?
I just enjoy what I do. It's a lot of fun, get to deal with a lot of people and help people get through different situations they have in business. And it's really just the excitement of finding every day something new.
So how'd you get, explain a little bit about what you do, and then how'd you get involved in it?
Well, Cactus Sky Digital is a digital marketing company that specializes in email marketing. And back in the day, my career has always been in advertising. And when I saw the .com coming about and all the changes, I saw an opportunity to really make digital a great tool for businesses with advertising. So we really focused. We went from being a traditional advertising agency into a digital agency, just specializing in the digital tools, and it's grown from there.
So you mentioned email. So what are some of the tools that you're using for your clients?
One of the biggest tools we're using right now is a tool that helps them with their online reputation. Because today, right now, when a customer is thinking about doing business with you, whether you're a doctor, a dentist, a restaurant, a car dealer, it doesn't make a difference. The first thing that person is going to do is look at their phone and say, give me information. They want to find out whether you take good care of your customers, if you're a good business, you're a bad business, and that is going to determine whether or not they're going to do business with you. And that's the difference in the world today. Never before have people been walking around with a high-powered computer in the palm of their hand.
Well, the computer we carry in our hand is more sophisticated than the IBMs that used to be in these big, in these huge air-conditioned rooms.
Exactly. And that's why online reputation is so important, because a lot of people have an iPhone. They'll say, hey, Siri, find me a dentist near my location. And first thing you're going to do is you're going to look at their reviews. And if they're good, you're going to go see them. If they're not, you're not going to go.
And as a firm that's actually I've had on here does a lot of marketing for professional organizations, talks about, if I refer someone to you, in the old days, they pick up the phone and call you.
Exactly.
But 80%, 85% of those referrals, even if they're and I send an email introduction between you and somebody else because I think the two of you would work well together, which is how we got introduced.
Exactly.
The first thing I did when we got introduced was go on the website and find out who you were, what your company was, whether it was going to be worth my time to talk to you at all.
Exactly. And that's why what we do is so important, because it encompasses the whole package. The communication via email, making sure that it's professional, but also when they go to the website, that they're finding a good professional website. They're able to see it on their phone, which is a big thing today. A lot of websites are not mobile enabled. So you want to make it easy so somebody can find all the information. I always tell people one of the most important pages on your website, and people ignore this page, is the staff page. Having pictures of your staff and a little bit of information about them. And most people don't want to do that because it's their business, and they don't want anyone else to get any exposure. But when somebody can look at your business, see all of the people that are involved, it adds credibility and it makes your business more real, more, touchy-feely. And that's an important piece of the puzzle.
It's trying to be honest and making sure people understand that there's something to trust about the people they're dealing with. That today's day and age, you're not walking into many offices. You're doing it digitally.
Exactly.
Or on your cell phone or your tablet. To be able to see the person you're dealing with creates a connection, which you didn't have to have before because you actually dealt person to person.
Mm-hmm. And that's what makes our company very different than a lot of companies out there, because our specialty is email. We have a unique ability to get through spam filters. But what I tell my clients is email is a horrible sales tool. A lot of people have this mistaken belief that they're going to go out and they're going to go hire a company and send out all of these emails to people in their market and their doors are going to get blown off. That's not what email is good for. Email is a relationship building tool, just like you're talking about. And what we do so well is we help build a relationship between your company and those people out there, not by hammering them over the head with an advertisement that's going to upset them and want them to mark you as a spam, but by building a relationship and talking about what benefit you can provide to them. And that's really what email is great for, is a relationship building tool.
So so what distinguishes the relationship building tool versus that advertisement? Because, people don't necessarily want to see the advertisement. They want to see information and knowledge, I think.
Well, it's all about a philosophy. And what I try to sell and explain to my clients is this. If you're going to market, do you use email for marketing to reach out to people? It's very inexpensive. You could be sending out emails for as little as 3 cents an email. So you have a wide range of people you can reach, but you don't want to keep hitting them with a sales message. You go out to there and you tell them a little bit about the benefit of your product. Maybe you do something, an educational piece, a tip of the month. So you're talking to people and you're explaining to them what you do and keeping your name in front of them. So at some point, and that's the nice thing about email, unlike direct mail, doesn't have a shelf life. I have people that'll come back to a client months later and the client will call me up, hey, did you run an email campaign with that offer? Because I just had someone come in. Well, people will keep that email. They may not be in the market right now for that product or service you're offering, but 6 months from now, they are, and they've remembered that company and they have your offer. And I say to the client all the time, well, can you still offer that price? Oh, of course we can. Well, then take the deal.
Yeah. Well, I'm a firm believer that in marketing, in the advertising end, it's the number of impressions that you hit people with. It's why they do it on TV. Why, Len the plumber or, Mike, what is it? Michael's, whatever it is, Michael's and Son, Michael and Son.
Yeah.
They're hounding it. 99% of the people watching TV at that time do not need a plumber.
A plumber. But when they're ready for one, they remember.
They remember. Even if they go on the internet and they see that name, they remember it. And they sometimes have no idea where they remember seeing it.
It's all repetition. It's all repetition, burning it in their mind.
Right.
And making it convenient for them. And that's why you want to be consistent with it. So every month, even if you send something out, a newsletter, now in their inbox, they've got something from you. So when they're ready, they can search through and they can just do a quick search and find your product and service. And there you are. You have a new customer.
Yeah. So in the last minute or so, if you've built this successful business, where do you think your business is going to go? Right now, it's 2018. Where do you think it's going to be in the next 5 to 10 years? Where do you want to take it?
Well, in the next 5 to 10 years, I think our business is going to grow dramatically because one of our focuses is on video testimonials. And video is becoming very powerful, and it's a very important part of everything people are doing today. Because quite honestly, when I send out an email campaign, if I have a video link in that email campaign, it's usually the second most popular, if not the most popular link clicked on. So video is very powerful, and what we've developed is a product where it gives you the ability to take a video testimonial of somebody and immediately publish it to the internet and also share it with other people. So video is a very big piece of what we're doing because, quite frankly, it is the hot thing out there in the market.
Yeah, well, as those out there in the pub don't know, this show is actually videotaped. And a lot of my shows are, and you can get them on. I have a YouTube channel, AHA Biz Radio. If anybody's ever interested in looking at the videos of the show, because I believe video is strong too. The other question I like asking guests on the show: if you were meeting or talking to a group of entrepreneurs, what's the one or two things that you would tell them they need to understand before they go into business?
Well, the single most important thing I tell people, regardless, is if you want to be successful in business today and you want to do well and grow your business, you need to be on video, doing video, but you need to be doing it on YouTube. And the reason why is YouTube is owned by Google, and it has preferential treatment. So if you're looking to be found on Google, by having videos on YouTube that have keywords in there like your city, your state, your product, it's going to increase your exposure on YouTube. So when somebody's looking for your product and service, they're going to be able to find you. So YouTube is very important. The other piece is invest in customer retention software where you're able to email and keep in touch with your customers, because if you don't take good care of your customers, they will not come back.
Well, and statistics show 80% of your business will come from existing customers or the people they refer you to. If you don't take care of your existing customers, your business is not going to grow because, one, they're not going to give you business, and two, you're not going to get the referrals, which is the majority of referrals you get.
Exactly.
The other 20% is out there pounding the pavement to get new business. But if you maintain and grow your existing customers, it keeps your business going and going strong. Need to go to first commercial break, but Peter, so thank you. How do the listeners be able to reach you?
The easiest way to reach me is my cell phone. I share it with everybody. It's area code 954-205-7716. That's 954-205-7716. Or my email address is peter@cactussky, CACTUSSKY.com.
Well, again, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
When we come back from the commercial break, I will have Steve and Jim Workmeisters. They're the owners of Premier Concrete. Later in the show, I have the AHA Business Trivia Contest. I'm Allan Hirsh of Allan Hirsh Advisors, and this is AHA Business Radio on CBS Sports Radio, 1300 AM. This segment, I have in the studio with me Steve and Jim Workmeister. They're the owners of Premier Concrete. And I just don't, please don't give me shoes. I appreciate that. But first question, and I don't care which one of you answers, but I'd ask both of you, what motivates you to get up in the morning and go to work? Jim?
What motivates me is just because I like what I do. And it's always challenging and it's always exciting. So that's why I get up in the morning to go to work.
And Steve?
Well, my wife pushes me out of bed, but besides that, we have a lot of long-term employees, and we feel like we've still kept that small family business feel. So we feel like that we owe it to keep the business going and to keep going forward.
Yeah, there's a saying that I've heard many times: if your employees don't love the business, why should your customers?
Yeah, I agree with that. And
from what you're saying, you want to take care of your employees. You want them to enjoy what they're doing, enjoy your business, and if they can, certainly, hopefully, they're working with your customers will make them like your business as well and enjoy your business. So, how'd you two get into this concrete world?
Well, when I was a young man, my neighbor was in the business, and some of his help didn't show up one day, and he asked if I would help, and I worked with him for that day, and it just took off from there. And ever since then, it's kind of all I've been doing. So it's been a livelihood for me since I've been 18 years old.
So you were working for this other. Did you eventually take over his business, or did you leave and start your own business?
Oh, well, those guys were seasonal, so I went to one other company, and the other company I was with for 4 or 5 years, and they had financial problems, and I started doing little odd jobs here and there, and it started becoming more steady, more regular, and I thought I'm going to make a go at this.
So how long ago did you start, and then I assume your brother joined you?
Yeah, I started in 1986, and Steve was there a couple months later, and he jumped right in with me, and we've been together ever since.
32 years.
32 years.
So during that time frame, and I ask this question a lot, because anybody who's made a decision, sometimes they don't come out right. But a decision that you've made in your careers that didn't work right or come out the way you wanted, what did you learn from it?
Not to make that decision again.
Right. Well, it's okay to fail as long as you have the grit and determination to just keep pushing forward. And I think if you don't fail and if you don't take a chance and you don't try new things, that you're not really pushing as hard as you can or taking your company to the next level.
I agree with you. I mean, my father taught me a saying, the only person that never took a risk is a person that never did anything.
Right.
Or in the same way, the only person that never failed never did anything.
They never pushed, right?
Never pushed. And we learn more from our failures than in many cases than we do in our successes, because if things go right, we think they're always right.
Absolutely.
So I just was curious if there was a situation like that. So you've grown from how many trucks out there, and what kind of work do you do? Homeowner? Do you still do? You start, I assume, with in the homeowners and.
Yeah, go ahead, Steve. I'll let you take that one.
We started out with the homeowners, and we did homeowner work, I call it, for about 6 years. And then we hired an estimator for commercial work. and we asked him to come aboard part-time and help us get some commercial work. He never worked a part-time day in his life. He just came right in with us, and he was full-time, and we were lucky enough to have him with us for, I bet you, 10 to 12 years, and he retired. And before he did that, he had trained another estimator, and since then we've got 3 estimators now working for us.
Yeah, no, I have another client that's in the construction business like yourselves, and until he got an estimator on board, he couldn't grow because he was doing it all. It was limited by what I assume the number of jobs you could get was limited by the number of jobs you could estimate.
And that's how we started. I would work all day, and then in the evening we would estimate. And
Right.
That got old fast.
Absolutely. You ended up working 100 hours a week and not getting everything done you wanted to get done.
It's hard to take that next step, and when you take that next step, you wish you would have done it years ago.
Yeah,
a lot sooner.
I just want to remind the listening audience, I'm with Steve and Jim Workmeister. They're owners of Premier Concrete. If you want to talk to them or have any questions or comments, give us a call, 410-481-1300. So, I don't know your ages, but how many more years you think you want to do this? Where do you want the company to be in 5 or 10 years?
Well, go ahead, Steve.
We're already starting that process of training other people to come up through the ranks so that when we eventually retire, they'll be having a trained personnel right behind us that's actually doing what we're doing now. So I'm hoping to be finished in 5 to 7 years. I think Jimmy is probably a little bit behind me.
So I won't ask which is the older, but okay, so between 5 and 10 years, the two of you want to transition in, and I assume you're working on a plan to transition into employees. You don't have family members that are interested in coming on board?
I have a son that's showing some interest, but I'm trying to push him into something else for now. But you see how life works in funny ways.
Yeah, I know. I went into a family business,
Right.
so. How long has he been out of school, and what we're doing?
He'll be a senior at University of Alabama, and he's worked with us for the last 2.5 or 3 years during the summer. So he's got a taste of it.
Yeah, but it might be good sometimes to get experience elsewhere.
Absolutely.
First. Even if it's with a competitor in another city that you might know in the same industry, if he wants to come on board, give him some ideas and thoughts of what the industry is like from someone else's point of view.
That's a great idea. I'll send him out west, and we can start that plan.
Hopefully,
early.
he'll then come. Send them to a town or city that is not as exciting as L.A. or San Francisco. Maybe he might not want to come back,
Right.
but a place that where somebody that maybe can help and train him to some of the things, so he sees it different than just from you all with a different vision, different ideas. If he does come back into decides to work in your family business. Yeah. I believe in family businesses. I was 4th generation of a family business. And I worked with my dad, and we have a better relationship today than we had 47 years ago, I guess it is, when I started in that family business.
Yeah.
So it can be a blessing if it's done right.
It has been for us. It really has.
So one question I always ask, if you had an opportunity to talk to other, even in the construction business, those who are looking to start their own business or had just started their business, what's 1 or 2 things you might tell them are key to success in their business?
I think, the details, you need the details from every aspect of the business. You have to have a plan, and you have to have some kind of grit and passion for what you're doing. And if you can combine those 4 things, you can manage anything. You can fight through anything.
Yeah, I tend to agree with it. So I want to thank you both for being here, and I appreciate it. How can anybody out there, if they want some concrete work, reach the two of you?
Well, the best way would be to reach us just to call the office at 410-344-1604. And you have an extension for me at 26 or Jim for 27.
and your website in case they want to check it out?
Is www.premierconcrete.biz, B-I-Z.
Okay, well, thank you both for being here. I really appreciate it. When we're going to be going to a commercial break, later in the show, I will have the AHA Business Trivia Contest. The winner will receive a gift certificate to the Touche Bakery and Cafe in trying to remember in Baltimore County. Actually, it might be in Anne Arundel County. It's down near Arundel Mills. It's a wonderful place, great food. I'm Allan Hirsh of Allan Hirsh Advisors, and this is AHA Business Radio, CBS Sports Radio, 1300 AM. Well, welcome back to tonight's show. In the studio in this segment with me is Ryan Hogan. He's the CEO of Hunt a Killer. Great name. I'll let him talk about it. My first question, though, is what motivates you to get up in the morning and go to work?
What motivates me to get up in the morning? You know, I think it really comes down to three things for me, and that's people, purpose, and passion. And I think that's three things that
the three Ps.
The three Ps, exactly. And you know, Hunt a Killer has done an incredible job of finding amazing talent that is truly dedicated and fits perfectly into this culture. And so the people, we're purpose driven. I know we're going to talk a lot about Hunt a Killer, but you know, we truly see ourselves as an entertainment company, which branches off into a lot of different things. And then just the passion. So between all three of those things, you know, I think we have a successful recipe right now, and we're just trucking forward.
I love that the three people, purpose, and passion. I think it's never heard it expressed that way, and I think you really expressed something very important. So how'd you get started at this, and if you want at the same time, just briefly talk about Hunt a Killer, how you got started, and we'll go into more detail.
Sure. So we got started quite a while ago. Our background is in the experiential business. And so Hunt a Killer actually started out as an event. And basically what we did was we looked across the landscape for different experiences that people were gravitating towards. And, you know, what we found were three different things. You had adventure races, which were still kind of popular 2 years ago. There was escape rooms, which have been prominent in the U.S., came over from Asia. And then interactive theater, like the off-Broadway Sleep No More, which is this hotel where you just walk around and experience any part of the play that you want at any given time that you want. And so, you know, what we said was, okay, well, these are the experiences that people are enjoying right now. What's a trend, or what can we skin this experience with? And so we looked around, and we realized that the true crime was this up-and-coming genre. And so what we said was, well, let's turn a 200-acre campground into a living crime scene. So we brought teams of 6 to Darlington, Maryland, at Camp Ramblewood, and we turned it into a living crime scene where people ran around and investigated and trying to figure out what was going on. And then about 3 weeks after that, we actually pivoted the company because we said, you know what, this is so amazing, this experience. You know, why can't we deliver this to doorsteps each month? So since October 21st of 2016, we've been delivering experiences via a subscription box each month, and we tell these murder mysteries episodically. So
what goes on in these boxes? I mean, it really fascinates me what you've done. I've come out of the publishing industry, and there used to be in the comic books, and even before that, serial books, where they print a book and eventually went into the movies in the 20s and in the 30s and 40s, where they do a 10-minute movie prior to the main feature, and it cliffhangers, and then you have to come back the next week to see what happened.
Exactly.
And so you're building this subscription. So tell us a little bit about what it really is and how the consumer uses it.
Yeah, sure. So, what we did when we turned this into a monthly delivery is we looked out there of what people were doing, and there's the television, Netflix and Hulu, and there's the movie theater, and there's books, but there's no experiences that really builds a community and brings people together in a way where like-minded people are searching for these types of interactions. And so, what we said was, well, what if we delivered an experience that actually brought people together and we could build a community around? So, I think first and foremost, that's kind of been our core competency, and bringing right now about 70,000 people into this Facebook group who are all actively doing this investigation together, regardless of what episode. Everybody's helping each other out. I'm helping them solve the case. But a typical experience is you would register, and your first box would come, which is episode 1, and we send you clues. You become the pen pal of this. I don't want to call him a serial killer because I feel like that's a spoiler alert. But you become pen pals
with somebody who actually might in fact be the criminal,
and he knows your address now, doesn't he?
Yeah. Well, only if you put it on this. Yes, if you're using your real address.
Yeah. But he's sending you clues and items and case files and all these different things that you get to explore. And what we've done extremely well. We have a team full of creatives who are the best in the world. And they've built this universe around this story, and so it's yours to explore. It's online. I mean, it's everywhere.
So, you've grown this. How did you get you got from this big, extravagant 200-acre program, theatrical type of thing, to this box that goes out monthly.
Yeah,
So what are a couple of the things that, as you went through this process? And I'm a firm believer, the only person that never took a chance, the only person that never failed at anything or made a mistake is the person that never did anything.
Sure.
So this took you some trial and error. So what were the things that went through this process where you learned from errors or mistakes that you might have made that you learned from?
Yeah, looking at mistakes, there's really too many. I think we've hustled. We've put a brilliant team together, and we've been able to accomplish something amazing over the past 24 months. Looking at, I don't know if I can necessarily categorize this as a mistake, but one thing that I think we've done extremely well is creating this feedback loop, right? Because it's one thing to make a mistake. It's another thing not to know what mistake you made. And so what we've done is we've implemented this feedback loop system to where we have constantly iterated. So, we're kind of like a snake that's shedding its skin. Like, we continue to iterate our experience and our product on a continuing basis based upon the feedback that we're getting. And that changes. And so, what Hunt a Killer episode 1 was back in October 2016 is completely different of what it is today.
Well, it reminds me when I was in business and I worked with my clients, I had a 3-question questionnaire. 1, how would you rate our product and services on a scale of 1 to 10? 2 was, how do you improve it? And the third really is about referrals or recommendation. But the first 2 tells you how you're doing and how you need to change your business
100%
to meet the needs of the customer.
Those are actually our 2 most important questions. And so we have the how likely are you to refer us to a friend, which is the common net promoter score, but the 0 through 10, and then we go in for the qualitative. So every survey we send out, we're looking for quantitative. How are we doing on a score from 0 to 10? And qualitative, if you could improve one thing about the Hunt a Killer experience, what would it be? And one thing is, for us, it goes past just the survey, right? So it's one thing to collect surveys. It's a whole nother to close that feedback loop because
absolutely. No, you're absolutely the most important part. Surveys are worthless unless you do anything. It's like a strategic plan.
100%.
Most strategic plans get put on a drawer and no one ever looks at them again.
I agree. Yep.
So it's about how do you take that data and convert it into information that can promote the change you need to make your company and your products better.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. I mean, that's kind of been been something that we have excelled in, and I think we can attribute a lot of our success today based upon that.
And very frankly, that's what I try to do with my clients. But little self promotion here. So where do you think where's the company going to go in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, that's a great question. We've launched a couple other brands. Early on, the idea was we've created this new category in the entertainment. So instead of doing these other things with your time, you'll spend your time solving this investigation. But the only way that we could prove that is that if we could get into different genres. And so recently we launched another subscription box company called Empty Faces, which is a horror subscription box. But for us, we look at ourselves as an entertainment company. So it doesn't stop with the innovations that we're creating within these categories. We see tremendous opportunity in the podcasting space. So most recently, we just purchased a podcast called Euphomet, and we're doing big things with that hosted podcast. And we're currently in production, I believe, on 3 audio dramas currently, and 1 is going into studio next week.
So it sounds great. How can a listener that wants to subscribe to your product, reach you and get that subscription? How can they do that?
So you would just log on to, if it's for Hunt a Killer, you would log on to www.huntakiller.com, and you would apply for membership from that website.
And if someone wanted to reach you and you or your partners in the business, how would they reach you?
Yeah, so I am always available, and you can reach me at Ryan, RYAN, at huntakiller.com.
Well, I want to thank you for being here. It's an amazing story, and I wish you and the company great success going forward. When we come back, I'll be going to a commercial break. When I do come back from the commercial break, I will have the AHA Business Trivia Contest. The winner will receive a gift certificate to Touche Cafe in Elk Ridge, Maryland, and it is wonderful, wonderful baked goods. And I'll be talking to Kurt and Melissa Godwin, They're owners of Mosquito Joe. So I'm Allan Hirsh, and this is AHA Business Radio on CBS Sports Radio, 1300 AM. In the studio with me now are Melissa and Kurt Godwin. They're the owners of Mosquito Joe. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
So, Melissa, what motivates you to get up in the morning and go to work?
The fact that I'm changing lives for families. We're making outside fun again for you and your family and your friends, so that I know that moms and dads feel real comfortable with their kids outside playing, as well as their pets, too.
Okay. And same question to you, Kurt. What motivates you to get up in the morning and go to work?
It's very similar to that in that we are able to help people, and then we've had such positive response to what we do. I remember we were working a home show a couple years ago, and somebody walked by and said, "Hey, where's Melissa?" And Melissa said, "Well, I'm over here." And the woman ran over, put her arms around her, and hugged her and said, "You don't understand. You've changed my life." So it really does. When we get those kind of responses, it makes you feel good about what you're doing.
Absolutely. So what is it Mosquito Joe does? What do you do? I know it's a franchise. And you were one of the first in the country.
We're the number 6 franchisee, first people to bring it to Maryland. And we come to our house. Our guys are going to dress like Ghostbusters and spray the bushes, trees, and foliage and eliminate mosquitoes, fleas, ticks, and stink bugs on contact. And then for the next 3 weeks, you won't have a problem with those bugs either.
So, too many people think of the long ago when you did all these kinds of debugging, of the environmental issues. So the products you're using, how they affect the environment. Because I think it's very important for those out there that are interested.
Correct. We feel like we're very, very extremely low risk for the environment because our product, which is unlike and different from some of the termite stuff that goes into the ground as well as fertilizers that go into the ground, our product adheres to the foliage. And once it adheres, it can't be washed off, wiped off, rubbed off, or licked off. So, for example, the guys that got sprayed today and then it rained this afternoon, they're fine. It didn't get washed off. It's not going into the Chesapeake Bay. And we have a label restriction that we can't spray within 25 feet of any water that goes to the bay. So we feel like we're very environmentally conscious and very low risk for the environment.
So, in addition, there was a chemical that they used to spray a lot for pests and bugs that no longer is used. How is it with children and humans? It's not. I assume it's non-toxic, but how does it
So it basically is only toxic to the insects. We're talking about mosquitoes, fleas, stink bugs. The product itself is has very low toxicity in it. So as far as your kids, your grandkids, your pets, the wildlife, there's no issue with those. It's just the insects that we target.
Okay, so how long you been doing this?
Well, this is our 6th season. So we've been doing it for 6 years and loving it.
So when you got started as a franchisee, what were some of the big challenges you had when you first got started?
Convincing people that Mosquito Joe is a service and not a bar with good mojitos. People always ask us, what kind of mojitos do you have and how's the food? And then really convince them that it really worked. It's private mosquito control has been around for maybe 10 years. We've been doing it for 6, and people are used to the government doing this kind of service. So it's convincing them this is a real product, it's a real service, and it really works. And we're going to be there, and we're going to do it for your kids and make it so you can enjoy your outside.
But it also, when we talk about the insects, mosquitoes, and the diseases that they bring about and cause, the Nile virus, I think it's one of them.
West Nile
virus, or, well, not in this country, but malaria and all kinds of diseases that mosquitoes carry, and ticks with Lyme disease. You're really not only you're helping the environment, the homeowner environment or the commercial environment, friendly and good for, but you're also creating a healthier environment as well.
We believe so. The Gates Foundation did a study and found that mosquitoes kill more people every day than sharks have killed in 100 years. Mostly from malaria.
But you're not selling shark repellent.
No.
But
No. But so the mosquito is the deadliest animal on the planet over the last 100 years. And so they carry a lot of disease, like you say. So we feel like our work, not only in helping people to enjoy their yard and their home spaces, we're providing a level of protection that hasn't existed in the past.
Right. And there's a lot of customers or a lot of people that are fearful. I can remember the very first year we opened up, it was probably maybe my 10th customer that I brought on. She had called and she was so excited. She had never heard that there was a service before, and she had just lost her mom the year before to West Nile virus. She was scared to death to go outside. So we've been servicing her ever since. She's happy and feels much more comfortable now being outside.
That's great. It reminds me of my dad in World War II. Americans lost more soldiers to disease in the South Pacific, and he was in the South Pacific to disease, and he had a couple of them. They lost it because they didn't know how to get rid of the mosquitoes and some of the other.
The Panama Canal almost did not get completed because the soldiers were dying of yellow fever from mosquitoes.
Right.
When they figured out how to control the mosquitoes is why the Panama Canal got completed.
Yeah, and in the South Pacific there was dysentery. My father had malaria 5 or 6 times. And my father-in-law, the second part of that story is, he was in intelligence and landed on D-Day in Germany. His job was to find, as intelligence, his first job was to find any of the German latrines and disinfect them, because to prevent, having learned this in the South Pacific and in North Africa, they wanted to make sure that all of the disease was controlled, because they had lost in those more soldiers to disease than they did to gunfire during the battle. So that, you don't think of those things. He was like, his intelligence was to find the latrines and make sure they were clean and disinfected, so they couldn't produce health issues for the American soldiers.
Right. And that's what we're doing on customers' properties. We're looking for the water sources and things that we can either rid the water or treat the water, so that they don't have to worry about some of those things.
The first part, and that's something, you also can treat the water if they have a swimming pool or a pond on their property.
Right. So basically, when you have water that is standing still is where the mosquitoes will actually breed. So things like, your ponds, your swimming pools have filters on them, so we don't need to treat those. But your fish ponds, even though they may be filtered, may have some standing stagnant water, so we can actually treat those with a larvicide that is safe for the marine life there.
Yeah. I just do want to remind the listeners, because I've been engaged in this, it fascinates me. that we do have a trivia question out there if anybody wants to answer. What company sponsored the first season of the Flintstones TV show? Please give us a call, 410-481-1300. We only have a couple minutes left till the end of the show. So where do you want your franchise, your company to go in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, we're very happy with our growth. We feel like we've only really hit maybe 1 to 2% of the market in our area. And we feel there's a lot of room for growth, and a lot of people that just aren't aware that the service is available, and they sit home and suffer with mosquito bites all day and all night. And we feel like we can make many, many more people's lives happy.
I think you could have created my family's a lot happier if I knew you were around before we moved into a condo a year and a half ago.
And I'll tell you one thing. My son, you mentioned earlier, my son, when he was younger, got Lyme's disease twice. And it was no fun. He was lucky that we treated him, and he's okay now. But if I can prevent one kid from not getting Lyme disease from what we do, then it's worth it.
Well, I have a cousin, and one of our best friends has terrible Lyme disease, and neither of them can work.
Yeah, I have a friend like that as well.
It can be devastating. And what you're doing, which no one really talks about, that there's services like yours that make sure that we can be a healthy environment.
Yes.
So as business owners, one of the questions I like to ask guests, if you were talking to someone that wanted to go into business, what's a one or two ideas or thoughts that you would share with them to help them understand what it's about to run the business?
So I think the biggest thing would be is don't underestimate the fear factor. It's very rewarding, but there's a lot of work to do. And if you're really passionate about what you're doing, the time that you put in is a lot. Kurt and I do it together, so we spend 24/7 together. But I would say that's probably one of the biggest things. Interesting
enough, that's what I work a lot with my clients. Fear, false expectations appearing real.
And proper expectations is also, I agree. I do a lot of the validation calls for our franchise. It's amazing how many people call me and say, well, I'm going to make money in the first 6 months, right? Probably not.
No, it takes time to make money.
It takes time to build your business, and you got to put the time and the effort in.
And it doesn't happen overnight.
No.
I want to thank both of you for being here. How can the listeners reach the two of you?
Baltimore.mosquitojoe.com. 443-393-2353.
Well, thank you both for being here. I really appreciate it. The trivia question, what company sponsored the first season of the Flintstones TV show? It was Winston Cigarettes. And at the end of each show, Barney and Fred actually lit up Winston cigarettes. Can you imagine that today for a cartoon show? But anyway, I want to thank you both being here. I want to thank Logan Levy, who's been my producer for a length of time. He's going to bigger and better things. And I want to welcome Billy Gohan, who's here this evening for first show working with me. Thank you for being here. I want to also thank my videographer, Larry Wilner of LW Bizflix, who videotapes this show. Please join me next Tuesday at 6 p.m. when my guest will be Gina Ramsey, Vice President of Business Development at Adventure Web Interactive. I'm Allan Hirsh of Allan Hirsh Advisors, your host. To reach me, call 443-977-4500 or visit my website, allanhirshadvisors.com. You can also listen to all the past shows, for almost 4.5 years of them, on ahabusinessradio.com. This has been AHA Business Radio on CBS Sports Radio 1300 AM. I look forward to being with you next Tuesday evening. Thank you and good night.